Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I hope that everybody is doing well, inshallah ta'ala. And today we have our live about boundaries. This week, we have been talking about boundaries. Last week, Sister Sara, she talked about patience. So, alhamdulillah, I hope you're enjoying the slides that we have put up about boundaries. What are boundaries? Usually, when you hear the word boundaries, what does it resonate with? Boundaries means stop. Boundary means you cannot do this, right? Boundary is always, it seems as if somebody else is trying to do something to you and then you are saying I allow it or I don't allow it. Well, pretty much that is what boundary is. But if you were looking at the previous posts, I did say that before setting boundaries, we need to understand if we are meeting the emotional needs. Every human being, regardless of what age group we are in, we do need to be validated. We do need to feel as if we are heard, and we do need to actually listen to the other party, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our parents, whether it's our children, that hear me out first, right? And that is again from the sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a sunnah that's not much practiced because usually we're so focused on saying out stuff. And that is the kind of environment that we have, that if you feel it, you need to know what you're feeling, you need to sit with your feelings, you need to understand it, label your feelings, and then say it out loud. The other one, how can you communicate but listen, have the skills to communicate? But one of the most important skills of communication is listening. And when we listen to our children, and I will focus more of our conversation about parenting and the boundaries between children and parents, the reason is because, of course, we are parenting with Allah by our side, alhamdulillah. And also, mothers usually feel flustered, frustrated, tired, drained because they keep saying the same thing like a broken record over and over and over again. Whether the children are from 6 months and above, whether the children are in their pre-teen ages, adolescence ages, or whether their children are even adults, mashallah, 20 and up, right? It feels as if the mother is still saying, clean up your room. Mother is still saying, did you drink enough water today? Mother is still saying, did you cook food? Did you eat food? What do you want to eat? Please eat your vegetables, etc., etc., etc. So coming back to that, once we understand that before saying all of that, we need to know what our needs are. And once we've met those needs, which is being loved, safety, feeling safe in the relationship, being seen, being heard, and then you can definitely set up your boundaries. Now, asserting boundaries with kindness. For example, I do not believe in the culture of saying, well, I don't feel like, so you can't do this, or this is my room, so you can't enter my room, or this is my phone, so you can't check my phone, or this is mine, because even though the parent is providing, and even if the child is accustomed to doing part-time jobs, when most of the Western cultures, children by the age of 14, 15, 16 required can actually go out and work and have their income, or parents actually give them chores and pay them for their chores, which is not recommended actually, but still coming back. And the children, they save up their money because the parent wants the child to learn the money saving skills, and they buy stuff for themselves, right? But the thing is, where does the boundary for that come in? Well, before the boundary, you have to know if the child's needs are being met. And before the child's needs are being met, there's another step, usually that we as Muslim parents want our children to know and learn from us. And we start this on from the very early age on, which is adab, which is manners. And boundary setting is nice and needs met are nice. But again, for us Muslims, we have the small area of calling adab good manners. And good manners do not come with forced behavior or forced instruction. Sometimes we do have to use our position as a parent to instate or reinstate a boundary, and that is okay over across the board. That is okay as long as it is done with kindness and you know for a matter of fact that it is for the well-being of the child. For example, simple example, a lock on screen times, taking away the phone when required and when necessary, giving the phone and what kind of phone we want to give to our children when necessary. So again, Once these three things are established, the understanding of other manners with kindness, the understanding of the unmet needs, the feeling loved, safe, cared for, acknowledged, listened to, and validated, and then you set in boundaries, because every human being requires boundaries. There is no working without boundaries. You absolutely cannot work without boundaries, right? Inshallah ta'ala. Okay, now coming back to I'm not actually looking at my Facebook while I'm talking, so if there is a comment, I will look at it later on, inshallah ta'ala. I will just actually post it right on my site, so that if somebody is asking a question while I'm speaking in the live, if I'm able to, I will inshallah respond. Coming back to now, asserting boundaries with kindness. How do you do that? You give the feelings of acknowledgement. You make sure that the boundary is reasonable for reasonable circumstance. And I will let you know an example of that. State the boundary. Usually we say, well, I said no, that is why it's no. Well, maybe there's a need that needs to be met, and maybe you need to shift that I say no because I say no, and maybe we need to do an intervention there in between before the boundary is met. The boundary does not change, but how you reach that boundary goal changes. And ask an empowering question. Usually in coaching as well, we do ask empowering questions. We do coach parents to ask empowering questions. We don't say, why did you do it? We say, what was your understanding about this? What were you thinking about this? And usually what were you thinking, parents do say, what were you thinking, in a very like and it's not even a question, like it's a statement of anger, right? But what was going through your mind? um, did you foresee the results? Tell me more about how you were feeling at that moment when you crossed a certain boundary. You don't have to say when you crossed a certain boundary, but you understand what those coaching questions now can look like. A technique for solving problems and developing new ideas are is brainstorming. Like you sit and you say, okay, we need to have a family intervention. We need to have a family discussion. Let's sit down and let's say there should be a few boundaries. Now, you're not going to sit a 6-month-old baby to to a 5-year-old, 4 and 5-year-old. Usually, what is it that they do? The most common thing a 4 and 5-year-old does. What do they do mostly? They talk. As soon as they have an idea, as soon as they want to express themselves, they don't see that you're talking to somebody. They don't see that you're in the middle of something. They have an urgency to express themselves. And I have practiced this long before becoming a parent coach, and long before even learning from books or learning from teachers and courses, because of course fitra and observation is something that is innate in all the mothers, specifically mothers, and well-connected fathers, emotionally well-connected fathers as well, that they know the need of their child. You have you ever I know everybody is not on the same wavelength um, of catching on to expression and tone, right? Not everybody is on the same length, but being a mother actually pushes you in that direction. Being a mother actually, even if you're not that kind of a person, you still do have certain qualities. So you look at the child's face and you look at their expressions while they're talking, the twinkle in their eye or the urgency in their tone. And you need to understand that they're going to be 4 only once in their life. They're going to be 5 only once in their life. They're going to feel so passionate about seeing a flying bird outside only for a certain small time of their life. And then uh, later on, as we adults, we grow weary of everyday common things and we don't take notice. They're also going to come to that stage. So let's celebrate. And which means again that yes, you will teach them that beta or beti or child, my dear loved child, my dear dearest, my dearest loving human being on earth, my center of attention, my center of focus, my center of day and night. Which shouldn't the children shouldn't be the center, but we do innately love them so much and we want them to be happy and healthy and all of that. You can say, um, let the let me finish talking and I will listen to you. You say that, but You make a mental note that I have to finish my talking earlier than I was expecting it to. Then you do not continue with your story with the other adult. Then you make it short and say, let me listen to this one first. Or you cut short right there and you say, let me listen to it first. It depends what kind of personality you are. For me, it was always, I would stop the other adult and I would say, I have to listen to this first, because that is how I was. Even if I would have continued a conversation, I would still be thinking, what does my child want me to know? And the children, they don't even have that much patience. They cannot regulate because their brains are not working like that. They cannot regulate, but they can learn. They can learn to regulate, and that is what a boundary is when it comes to younger children. So you say to them, I hear you, which is first thing. You validate them. I hear you. Let me finish what I'm doing. I'm going to come to you. And you purposely finish what you're doing, or at least stop in the middle. That is a parent's responsibility. The boundary is that the child knows that if my mom says that she's going to come back to me, she's going to come back to me. Or if my mom says, okay, tell me now so that I can go back to whatever I was doing. So I need to tell her now so that she can go back to what she's doing. And the face expressions should be kind. Another thing that you will see as a parent, and I have observed this even in my children since they were young, even now, if I'm doing something and they come to me and they say something and I just look at them like, hurry up, I'm in a hurry. Then they say, no, it's okay. Never mind. It's okay. And then it irks you more. Like, I stopped in the middle of what I'm doing and now I'm telling you to tell me and now you're not telling me. And you see how it aggravates you? So the key is your expression, the tone of your voice, and then enforcing your boundary. That is how at any level boundaries are basically going to work. Let's do an I'll explain from this book an exercise, and it says get a piece of paper and put a circle in the middle and write inside of it boundaries. Just write boundaries inside of it, okay? And then around it say brainstorming. So I don't have a white piece of paper. I should have kept it with me. So in a circle, you said boundaries. Outside of the circle, you said brainstorming. Now, example of activities. For example, you are a working mom and you are a mom. I'm not going to do this for younger children because I know you can do this with your spouse for younger children, but for older children, like my children are, mashallah, all alhamdulillah in their adolescent age, they're very much they're homeschoolers, and so they're very much capable of making their own meals. Alhamdulillah for that. So what my boundary is going to look like is the boundaries in the middle, that I will not make dinner on the day specifically I have appointments in the evening, right? If I'm as a coach, if I have appointments in the evening because of the time difference, because people are in different areas in different lands, I cannot make dinner, or I cannot prepare dinner, or I cannot place dinner on the table at dinner time because I'm busy with my work. So what are the brainstorming ideas? Well, what days are those? I can let them know, number one. Number two is I can let them know that what things are available and brainstorm with them the dinners that they would like to have or they would like to prepare. Involve the dad in it and ask him if he wants to take over, or if he is willing with doing sandwiches or whatever with the children. And once we all settle down on on a commitment that, for example, Wednesday night is something that I won't be available to place dinner at the table, then this is what the family is going to do. So you set the boundary. Wednesday, regardless now Wednesday, regardless I'm on a call or I'm not on a call, I'm going to take those 2 hours and I'm going to work those 2 hours, because that's a good insertion of me getting my work done, getting maybe ready for the rest of the week, right? If I haven't been able to do beforehand. So that is how your boundaries will work. And your boundaries can change in a sense that you can shift around the brainstorming, but not around the core of what you want them to do and learn. We can understand through discussion to do unmet needs. For example, there was once this family that their child, whatever books, whatever notebooks, whatever pencils, whatever paper was there in the house, he would just stack it all up, cut it with scissors, or tear it down, or and throw paper everywhere. So the family was, both the parents were very busy professionals and they did not have time. So what did the kid do? The kid would regularly, not every single day, but from time to time, he would do this. When everybody sat down and they had an intervention with a coach, they found out the child says, it's the only time when both my parents come and talk to me. So when I need them to talk to me and look at me in the face and in the eyes and sit me down, even though they're angry, I'm fine with that. And that child was, mind you, she was not 5 years old. He was 12 plus, right? I do this so that I can get their attention, I can get their focus. And you have heard this many, many times actually, that children do things to get your focus, get your attention. In fact, actually, in our punitive punishment style of parenting, which is not exactly a good style of parenting, what we have done is we have understood that the child needs attention, and then we have used it against the child while setting boundaries and saying, you are you are doing this on purpose, but we are not trying to find out the purpose. You're doing this on purpose. I don't like it, so I'm going to punish you. This is what we do with children since it's an early age. What we don't understand is when the child is fussing and crying and lying down in the middle of an aisle in the market, they might be hungry, they might be overstimulated, they might have a tummy ache, they really were saying from the very beginning, I don't want to go with you, or they are missing their favorite cartoons on the TV around that time, and they really wish that they were not in the market getting bored. Now we have phones, and we do give them phones for stream viewing. Listen, I'm not going to make a statement that this is good or this is not good. I'm just going to say you do whatever is needed for you. No two parents can be alike, and no two parents can judge each other for what they're doing. You will do whatever you think and what you require is okay for your child or is good for your child, inshallah ta'ala, right? coming back to Coming back to another thing. Avoid micromanaging food, specifically with younger children. Avoid micromanaging food. So number one was do it with kindness, and I taught how to do it with kindness by doing a brainstorming activity with your family. If you have older children, children from age 5 and above, they can do those brainstorming activities. Children from 0 to 4, they're very young and they actually need more attention, more love, more care, compared to the older ones, in a sense that they can't regulate that much. 5-year-olds can begin to regulate much better. Actually, when it comes to emotional empathy, you will. There was this beautiful example. The psychologist was saying, and she was also an author of a book, and she said that when my child was younger, I think he was 2, and he was playing, and he wanted me to play, and I was so tired. I was sleep deprived. And I just wanted to sleep, and so I told him, "I'm so tired." She told her 2-year-old son, I'm so tired. And the 2-year-old said, Mama, come lie down with me. Mama, come lie down with me. You sleep, I will play next to you. And after half an hour, and the child herself played with around her while she was sleeping. After she put an alarm for half an hour, she got up and he said, Mama, you feel okay? Mama, you okay? And we all know this. We all know this. Anybody who is a mother knows this, that children are such beautiful, empathetic beings that even when you're not saying, when you're just crying, they come up to you and they ask you, "Are you okay?" So how do we consider that the children will not understand if we speak with them? The problem with setting boundaries is we don't set it up. In a more collaborative way. We set it up in a forceful way. I said phones will be down by 9 p.m. and that's the rule of the house. It's a very good rule, actually. It should be down by 9 p.m. for the adults and for the children. It's a fantastic rule. The Wi-Fi should be off. I agree with that rule. But did I sit down with my kids and talk to them about it? Did they fuss about it, and did they would keep coming back and forth with it so that we would agree on something? I, from my own example, know when I set a rule for my kid and my kid doesn't want to do it, they straight out say, no, we're not going to do it. And yes, that's very difficult to hear. That is extremely difficult to hear. But as a parent, it's my job to reinstate that rule, but keep going back and forth with it in a kind manner. Sometimes, for example, with younger children, there was this another coach and she was teaching this and she said, I don't want my child to eat cookies prior to dinner, but they start coming up to me and they say, I want cookies, I want cookies. And then I just get so fed up, I just give him one. But now I've started to explain to them, this is the client saying to the coach, and I've started to explain to them that cookies are bad for health, cookies are sugar rush, cookie destroys their teeth, cookies not good before sleeping, they will not sleep, and their calories go, etc., etc. And the coach said, listen, he's a 2-year-old. He's a 3-year-old. He's a 4-year-old. You set the rules, you set the boundaries, and you say, cookies are not good for health. and say it in a kind voice and say it over and over again until they realize that you are not going to budge. The child's job is to make you budge. The child will push their buttons, your buttons, to see how soon, how quickly you give in. It is our job to not give in, at least up until the 100th time. Like, the Prophet ﷺ, and I'm like amazed, like how Prophet ﷺ, he knew our psyche, and he said, give 70 excuses before you say something about someone. And I will admit, I don't give 70 excuses to people. And by the third time, I'm just irritated, and I'm irritated and I say stuff, right? But if you know these things, and if you start practicing these things, you will know what's the blessing in it, what's the reasoning for it. Because by the 70th time you're giving an excuse, you don't even care what they said or what they did. You don't even care. And so by the 100th time, your child is not going to come to you to ask for a cookie. Believe me, trust me. If you say your child is the most stubborn and persistent child on earth, your child is still a human, your child is still a child, you are still an adult, your experiences count more. Yes, he might seem, or she might seem, like a mystery to you, but the thing is, we got what we got, and alhamdulillah for that. And we need to work with our skills, and we need to work on our skills. I hope I'm not boring you to death. and and I'm setting a good example through examples by letting you know how to reinforce or how to keep your boundaries. Look for signs for consent. Like, is this okay with you? Are you okay with it? And the child might grumble under their breath, and that's completely okay. As long as they say it verbally, it's a contract, right? And again, the adab of it, the manners of it, the integrity is that you said yes, you agreed to it, even if you were not willing. And children use this. Oh, I said this because I just did not want you to get mad. Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your compassion for me, alhamdulillah. And you just take it, but that's it. You just go forward, you just go along with that boundary, right? Then treat emotions as valid. For example, stop crying, you have no reason to be angry, or you don't act like this in front of people, or cheer up, I want you to smile. No, this is not how your boundary will be accepted by the child. This is not how they will accept it, because you're forcing them to be not them when they know nothing outside of it. This is for younger children, for toddlers, and for 4, 5, 6, 7 years old as well, even up until 7, even up until 7. Just because, and I say this many times, just because the child is growing in height doesn't mean that their brain is developing at that speed. I honestly and sincerely wish that us as mothers, specifically, and fathers, would read about brain development in children and in teens as well. In teens as well. There was another very good example that a coach was giving about teens and their emotional needs or their behaviors which we don't like. And it says, like, look at the kettle. Like, look at the kettle, and a teen's behavior which you are not liking or which is not acceptable is like a behavior like when the kettle is boiling. It's boiling. And you know that you're not going to touch that steam because you're going to get burnt. You don't like that steam. So what you do is you try to get off the steam, like by moving your hand, or by trying for letting it cool down. But the thing is, it will keep boiling. The behavior will keep coming back. It will keep reoccurring. So for teens, it's extremely important that we know and we understand their needs, unmet needs. And yes, we have strong boundaries. The thing is, we don't work on teens when they are in teens. We work on teens when they are toddlers. Love, kindness, adab is the basic. Okay. Now give them a privacy. Acha. This one is from Islam. We say as if this is a Western culture thing, because we absolutely in our Muslim cultures, and I wouldn't even paint a Desi culture or an Arab culture. No, it's not fair. Just in Muslim cultures, we lack the respect for privacy. Why? I have no idea. Or maybe I do, but I don't want to discuss that. We do lack privacy, because in our minds, privacy means you can't touch my things, and you can't know my passwords, and you can't come into my room. That is not privacy. That is not privacy. Privacy is, you ask if something is wrong, You see that, you observe that in your child, especially in teen or younger one, and then you make more observations before asking questions. Before just prying around, you make connections so that when you sit and ask and talk, then you will have a better idea of what's going on, and the teen will or the child will feel comfortable discussing it with you. Sometimes, yes, you do have to go off board. You do have to go and talk to their friend or text their friend or talk to the teacher or talk to the counselor. That is your job. You need to do that job. That is not giving them privacy. But if you think that your child is vaping, or if you think that your child is doing something that's not healthy for them, emotionally healthy for them, mentally healthy for them, then yes, if you ask them and they will absolutely deny it, then what are you going to do? Then yes, you're going to go and check. But you did observe first, you did ask first, they gave you a reason to go further beyond, and then you went beyond. You don't just go in and barge in and take stuff and bring out stuff and say, aha, I found it, see, I knew it. Because that's not, listen, it's not going to solve the problem. And you haven't set a boundary for starting a conversation respectfully. That was a boundary violation. Do not expect or request obedience while setting boundaries, because if boundary setting is a collaboration work, then you won't have to expect or ask for, oh, be obedient to me. You won't have to go that path. Listen, I am a mother of 3 children, alhamdulillah, and I do understand that children will not always oblige to boundaries. Boundaries are set because people are always going to test something, and you either like it or you don't like it. And so boundaries are set up for us. Boundaries are set up for their betterment. We think that boundaries are set up for their betterment, but let's change our view and say boundaries are set up for us. Boundaries are set up so that we know how to maneuver around our relationships. We know how to start those difficult conversations. That is why boundaries are, inshallah ta'ala, set up. There was this really nice example. The author says that she realized that she used to yell a lot, and all of us do yell a lot on our children, right? She realized that she yells a lot on our children, and she said, you know what, I'm going to set up a boundary. And she made a mark sheet, and she said, whenever I yell to her girls, she said, okay, fine, you know what, put a tick mark there. And slowly and gradually what happened was her yelling, because it was right in front of her eyes, and her children were counting how many times she yelled during the day, and they were not exaggerating, they were honest people. And so she saw that during the first week it was 5 to 6 times, during the second week it was 4, and then after 2 months there were many days where there were no tick marks. So she was so proud of it, and she said, 2 months, 60 days, wow, I have become so much better. And see, past 2 weeks I haven't yelled at you at all. I'm so proud of me. What do you think the younger one said? She said, yeah, mom, you don't yell anymore, but you have a tone. And this is such a good example, because as a parent, you are accountable for what you're doing, and you know what purposefully you're putting forward. It's not necessarily like that the children will give you a badge, a medal of honor. They will recognize, but it's not that they won't say it like you want them to say it, and that's completely okay. So how to set a boundary, and we will finish this live inshallah ta'ala. Give feelings acknowledgement. Again, meeting the needs, right? Be sure that the boundary is reasonable. You cannot tell a 3-year-old, put your own cereal and put the milk and don't spill the milk. That's not going to happen. That's not a reasonable boundary. Your 3-year-old wants to be independent, and majority of the 3-year-olds do want to be independent, and they say, we are going to pour the milk by ourselves. Then, okay, then tell them, okay, then let's do this. Can I help you pour the milk? I will just make sure that it does not spill out of the bowl. And then whatever you need to do, you do. Or you set up the boundary. If you spill the milk, then you are going to clean it, which is a better boundary, because they are going to spill a milk. We need to be reasonable, and we need to be realistic about it, right? But you are still going to help a 3-year-old. You're not going to say, pack your own lunch and go to school. That's not a boundary for them. That's a boundary for a teenager. Like my mom set up a boundary for me when I was a teen. She said, I'm not going to iron your clothes anymore. You need to take out your clothes and you need to iron your clothes. And which was very hurtful. I remember still being a 15-year-old. I was so hurt. I was like, she's trying to make me iron my own clothes. What kind of a mothering is this? But now I realize that it was for my own good. we should share how human we are. It actually connects us. Identify the boundary. Like, for example, no phones in our house. Then you set an example by using no phones in our house after 9 p.m. or after 10 p.m. or after 11 p.m. No taking the phones to the bed, or phones will be put outside of the bedroom or with the parent or in a specific place where everybody knows the phone is there, or no sneaking out of the house in later hours. I mean, it depends what kind of children, what kind of age group of children you have. Ask empowering questions. What do you think about this? How do you perceive this? How do you feel about it? What if we do something like this? What is your idea? So these are empowering questions, and use empowering questions to set your boundaries. Often brainstorm the solutions, which I gave you an example, how to brainstorm your solutions. Make peace with them saying no. They can come up and they can say no, no ma, this is not what we're going to do. And I'll give you an example. Clothing, certain type of clothing, certain type of music, certain type of books that the children or the teens or the preteens want wear or read or have, and they are in a public school setting where their peers are into it, and you say, listen, I'm not comfortable with this and I don't want you to do this. They will say no. Recognize that. Unless until we have established from the beginning their unmet needs, and we are open to communication, and they do have a connection with us, even when they will come and say no, we will be very peaceful about it. And we will say, listen, I know that you don't see this at this point, but this is something that our adab boundaries of the house do not allow, because you started with adab and manners and kindness in the beginning, and then the unmet needs, and then the boundaries. So you have something to fall back on. You have something to take back their attention at, and they will be reasonable about understanding why you're saying something. And they might still behind your back, they might still do it, because, well, every person has their path and they choose their path. But you will have some sort of peace in your heart that, okay, I did my job, right? I'm not saying boundaries will never be broken, or, oh my God, they are going to become so solidified, so steel proof or something like that. No, we are humans, we break rules. We love breaking rules, but at least you should know how to put the rules there, how to set the rules for your house, how to set the rule for yourself. The other thing is, ask the child if there is any good time or any good example to do a boundary setting example. Today, let's start this boundary setting example. For example, if I'm sleeping in the afternoon, or I'm taking a nap, or do not do XYZ, or let's do a boundary setting before saying yes to your friends for going out or for meeting or for any sports activity. Just acknowledge, ask me, just check in with me if I'm able to take you, if I'm available or not, stuff like that. You can always practice that. And that's about it. Jazakallahu khair. I hope, inshallah ta'ala, these were good examples, and inshallah they will help you in setting boundaries. I am not scared to say this, and so I will say this very bravely. Everything all the time is not going to work, and that is okay. You can read all the books in the world, and you can gain all the knowledge in the world, and you can go to the best coach, or you can become the best coach. And still you will fail, and that's okay. We have to be okay with failing, learning, relearning, and sometimes just letting it be. Just letting it be. The important point here is be kind, compassionate, and people of taqwa. Because even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives, and He has mercy, and He is the most merciful. Then it's our job to practice that mercy with ourselves, with our thought process, in our manners, in our behaviors, with our spouse, with our children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq. Ameen. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.